Leaders flock to New York every September for the annual UN General Assembly. This year was no exception. Like clockwork, they all landed and made their speeches. But was anyone listening?
It all began in 1946, a global institution of peace founded just months after the most brutal war in human history, the United Nations General Assembly. Over half a century has passed and the annual gathering has become the busiest week of the year for diplomats of its 193 members. It's an opportunity for leaders to converge and have their voices heard by the entire world. And despite a tumultuous year that saw leadership changes in more than 40 countries, it was a full house. New issues were raised and old ones revisited.
To understand what the world would be like with a nuclear-armed Iran, just imagine the world with a nuclear-armed Al-Qaeda.
Arms races and intimidation by nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction by the hegemonic powers have become prevalent.
Make no mistake, a nuclear-armed Iran is not a challenge that can be contained. It would threaten the elimination of Israel, the security of Gulf nations, and the stability of the global economy.
Critics of the United Nations say it is nowhere near as influential as it was 50 years ago. Created to prevent the kind of conflicts that raged in the early 20th century, the UN is often seen as more successful in meeting global humanitarian and health challenges than it is at stopping wars.
Pardon me.
Many issues referred to the UN have long remained unresolved, some for more than 60 years.
Kashmir remains a symbol of failure rather than strength of the UN system.
Others, like Syria, steeped in conflict for more than a year and a half, continue to claim hundreds of lives every month. A UN-brokered solution seems as elusive as ever. And new challenges are emerging all the time, like the recent tensions between Japan and China over the Diaoyu Islands.
By taking such unilateral actions as the so-called document purchase, the Japanese government has grossly violated China's sovereignty. This is outright denial of the outcomes of the victory of the Second World War and poses a grave challenge to the post-war international order and the principles of the UN Charter.
The United Nations was created by the New World Order that emerged in the aftermath of the Second World War. The Security Council's permanent members represent the war's victors, and the majority are Western states. It has stayed this way for over 50 years, despite calls from the developing world for reform and accusations of being out of touch with the 21st century. However, the UN and its associated agencies have done a lot of good work that cannot be overlooked. The United Nations and its then Secretary General Kofi Annan won the Nobel Peace Prize 11 years ago. Some may question the relevance or effectiveness of the UN, but with the backing of nearly every nation on earth and enduring goodwill, there is no other institution that could take its place.